So I was just thinking the other day, Ali, about differentiation and where do we start with that as teachers? Because our classrooms are becoming much more, they're becoming super diverse now
Yeah.
with lots of BMLs with varying language abilities in English. They have students have all different abilities in general anyway. And that's a huge challenge. And it's just where do we start? Where do we teachers focus our time and our energy?
Yeah. Well, that's a very complex topic, but to make it as simple as possible, we'll just focus on a few points here. So, the first thing is kind of an underlying principle, let's say. Um, Students thrive when the work is at their instructional level. All right. So,
Yeah.
that means right away we have to understand where our students are working at and to make sure that they're not at the frustration level, which a lot of times our BMLs struggle when the work is more difficult, the texts are more advanced than they can handle. So, really, that means you understand your students' level and you match the materials that they need so that they're able to thrive with just the right minimal amount of support. Okay. Of course, that's going to change as their growth moves forward. So, just keep that in mind. You want your students always in that state of thriving where they can work independently with slight support. The other point is that we want to maintain a balance between teacher directed and student directed
Learning.
activity, right?
Yeah.
To make sure there's uh, active engagement on behalf of the student. So that means that we have to make sure, this is again a rough idea, that the learning should be directed by the teacher approximately maximum 30% and the students engagement and active learning 70%. So we could call that the 70-30
30.
principle.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people have spoken about this before. I don't think it's a thing, but I've heard others say it. So that's just a guideline. So if you are planning your lessons with these pointers in mind, you'll automatically be thinking in an
Yeah.
optimal way to make sure the activities going on in your classroom are promoting learning
So it
naturally.
means that the students are much more active in the learning
Right.
rather than being passive. So if the teacher is sitting at the front of the classroom, which I'm sure not a lot of people do, but they're at the
Yeah.
front of the classroom and they're the font of all knowledge and they're pouring it into the
Sage on
students.
the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stage on the stage. That
Yeah.
doesn't work, right? We need to create opportunities where the students are actively engaging. Either they're working in groups, they're working
Having discussions.
discussions using the academic vocabulary.
Yeah.
They're working in pairs, they're working in groups, they're doing research, they're working on projects. So whatever it is, they're actively involved in that learning process,
Right.
keeping them
And
engaged.
and that means that it allows you then to divide your own time, right? As
Yeah,
the teacher. So it means that once you get students working actively and,
they're
either in
busy.
your groups, they're busy, you know, dedicating their time to something meaningful, then it allows you to really focus on the learners who may need some additional support to work with the concept you're teaching. So that means you might go and adapt or the instruction a little bit, maybe provide more background information, guide your learners, maybe give them a mini lesson for 10 or 15 minutes. So that's the style of teaching and
Yeah.
learning that best suits differentiation and best suits students working independently in a way that will naturally promote their progress. All
Yeah,
right.
and I think it also allows the teacher, if the students are engaged meaningfully in their activities, and the teacher is doesn't necessarily has worked with some students but has now got some time, they can look around and they can observe the learning going on.
Exactly.
So then they can see, are there students struggling? Are there
Yeah,
students who are thriving? Maybe next time they'll take two or three students that are in this group who are thriving and
exactly.
mix them with this group who weren't thriving. And so you're
Yeah.
you're actually looking at how you can optimize
Mhm.
that 70-30 balance and have the
And
students even more
yeah,
engaged.
and that's a good time when you can make some anecdotal notes
Yeah,
for yourself, because when that's all happening, that may not be the time for you to be thinking. You just want to take some notes,
yeah,
or maybe you have a rubric or a checklist or something, and you want to be watching what's happening in the classroom, so that,
yeah.
as you said, the next time you can be more focused on what you need to teach or follow up